Today we take a look at HyDraw CAD. I will use a HyDraw CAD for a small schematic, and I will slightly change approach, and I will start from Library Manager instead, because when you install HyDraw CAD for the first time, you get a huge library of symbols. You get access to lot of component data from lot of manufacturers, but sometimes you may need to fill data into your library. And this is partially what we have seen in the last webinar about Library Manager. And let me just show you how to import some model data, which I put on a Excel spreadsheet. I just have a list of molecules, model family, description, manufacturer, and port size. And I will link those items to a symbol in the library, which I will then use in my diagram. So I open my HyDraw Library Manager. I go to components. Those items are just suction filters. So it's very easy. That's a strainer. This is the symbol. I will import from my Excel file. I'm using some molecules from a customer in Italy, my region. I will select the sheet in my Excel file, that's suction filter. I want to add the new models. I click next, and I select my headers and all the attributes I need to import. I am able to map equivalent properties, model family, and port size. Some are already mapped because the column is matching the attribute description. I click next, and I select all my components with Ctrl A and import, and click yes. So in this way, now I have a lot of items linked to my section filter, which I will now be placing in my diagram, and I will start my diagram. First, a short description about the environment. HyDraw CAD is built around an AutoCAD engine. So on the left, we have a Library Explorer, which we can close and open just by typing YL, which is loading Library Explorer, or you can just click the symbol icon on the top left. On the right, we have what we call Property Manager, which will be listing all the attributes for the symbols that we place in the diagram. To open the Property Manager, you type YP, or you just click Edit in just on the right of the top menus. Together with the standard HyDraw commands, divided into 3 main tabs: Circuit, System, Symbols, which basically include the circuit, all the commands to build our diagram, system, all the commands to extract information from our diagram, and symbols, some tools to build the new symbols. And we have also a lot of other standard AutoCAD commands. HyDraw CAD can really be used like AutoCAD replacement for 2D drafting, mechanical drafting, and whatever you need. I start my diagram. I insert my title block, let's say A3 title block. And I start searching. I start directly with that suction filter, and which, if you remember, was in this folder, strainer. And with a double click, I place my suction filter. Now I want to select some model data that I have imported in the Excel from the Excel file in the Library Manager. To import model data, link model data to a component, we just click on the select from library on the right. Let me highlight with a pen. Search from library, and I'm going to search in my database, and I will be able to find all the items. Let me select one that's not relevant. And as you can see, all the information are attached to the symbol. Also with the port size, which in this case may not be important, so let me just hide it. The port size in this case is called a display setting, display format, which is managed in the Library Manager, like we have seen in the last webinar. Instead of searching for symbol in the folder, just going through, we can filter by typing some search criteria like I want a pump percent fixed. And in this case, HyDraw will filter only the symbols belonging to that category. And I want a double pump, a right rotation, and I just take my symbol and place it here. As I'm here, I want to make a connection line. So I move to the circuit tab and I create a suction line from out to S. I want to link model data to this pump. So again, I do a search in my library and search. Today, I also populated some model data for a double gear pump. So let me select this one. Okay. And as you can see in this case, the displacement is displayed in the drawing. If you want, you can hide the attributes. And if you want, you can also rotate attributes like I want the cover and displacement to be rotated by 90 degrees because it's slightly overlapping and I want to move it here. So you can edit and change the position for the text in the symbol. I want to find a coupling set. Let me double click and place a coupling set. And let me move the balloon out. I want a bell housing motor adapter. And again, my balloons may go here. And then I want an electric motor. Double click and place my electric motor here. And I want to search for an electric motor in the database. Again, I imported some motors and I may want to filter only something that is more than 3 kilowatt. And let me take a 2-pole AC motor. And the power rating is displayed together with the motor. Now I wanted to link something to this dual gear pump. And instead of placing loose items, I go to my subsystems. Subsystem may be very helpful because when you build the diagrams, you can store part of diagrams into the subsystem library in order to help you making faster new diagrams. And please remember that the next webinar for HyDraw CAD will explain how to better manage subsystems. So if you want, you can subscribe and you will understand better about subsystem. So today I have built a small high-low circuit, which is basically a group of valves that will help me with unloading the high displacement pump when a certain pressure is reached on the line. And let me just do a connection line, new connection line from my high displacement pump, which normally is the low pressure pump. And also I want to make a connection from here going to P2. So the right will be my high pressure and the left will be my low pressure. And let's say that all these items are part of a manifold. Let me just stretch some lines. Let me undo. And you can use F8, AutoCAD F8 if you want to keep always ortho on or ortho off. Let's say that these items belong to a manifold. So we can just draw an envelope. And when the envelope is crossing our connection lines, it is breaking the connection line into external ports. And now we can say that this is our tank port. And maybe our tank port must include the flow from the first pump plus the flow of the second pump, and which is probably about 25 liters per minute. You can type in the flow 25 liters per minute, and we can select from the library. And automatically HyDraw CAD will recommend the size for the port fitting that flow rate. So I will go to BSP and let me take a 1x4. Maybe it's too small. I go for 3x8. And that's my tank line. My P1, and I will select maybe a 3x8 as well. While the P2, let me call it HP, high pressure, and I will take a 1x4 BSP port. I'll do a small power unit in this case. I want to draw a tank line, maybe going this direction, and I want to represent a reservoir for my power unit. So let me just use standard AutoCAD commands. I want to make a reservoir that is making this way. And maybe there is a cover on top. And that's my reservoir. I want to represent it with, let me select all, and change layers as you do with AutoCAD. And I will use a command that is the convert to HyDraw. Convert to HyDraw is able to transform any entity you have in the drawing into a symbol that you want to manage in the part list. So my component type is the reservoir. I select my entities, press enter, and select my insertion point and convert. And this is transforming those entities into a reservoir that I will be able to use in my system. That's my EU port, and maybe that's also a BSP 3x8. And now let me add a test point. I need to measure the pressure here. So let me go to the insert port. I need a MP, and I want it to be closed. The symbol will be closed, but before doing the insertion, I want to select the port type, which will be a BSP 1x4. You double click on the symbol and you place the port in the drawing. I now can make a control connection from the MP to our port. As you can see, all the jumpers and dots are made automatically. I realize I missed some check valves here. It's better to put a check valve between pump and the manifold. So let me make some room. And there is a smart AutoCAD command that you can use. It is the AutoCAD stretch. As you see, it is on top. In your installation, your setup, it may not be here. If you want commands on the quick access toolbar, you just go into the command where it is, and in this case, it is here. You right click on the command and click add to quick access toolbar. This operation will add commands to the quick access toolbar. So they will be handy to find in any menu you stay. I want to stretch. I want to select just the bottom part, start point, and I will make some room. Now let me search for some component in the library. So far, I've been only searching for symbols, but HyDraw has the possibility to find directly components. To do that, we click on the maximize search option, and we can search in the local database, but I don't have a lot of data in my local database. I prefer to go online in the fluidpowertools.com library. And just for your information, to find model data, which manufacturer we have here, you go to the services, data, access settings, and here you have a list of all the manufacturers. And let me search for a check valve. I want a check valve in line mounted, and I need a valve that is at least 25 liters per minute. Well, let me search. It is finding a lot of items. I mean, I didn't filter any manufacturer. I will take whatever it is. Let me filter. And let me take Have, RB, double click, and I place it on the connection line. When you place a symbol on the connection line will be broken into two pieces. And the same, I insert the same symbol and position it here. And this is adding a new information. For the components that we already have in the library, we can select the item. And as you can see, I have the setting because this was already stored in my subsystem when I created, but I didn't put any model data. So we can search online and we can do a search. This search is very generic. I'm searching all the relief valve cartridge direct operated in the system. So as you can see, I have a lot of manufacturer. You can filter by manufacturer, and maybe I take a comatrol valve RV8DR. Okay, and this valve, it's already a comatrol valve. And this one, it's a logic element. Let me search what I can find here. Always comatrol. Let me take a small one, 49 liter per minute. Okay. And the check valve, let me go again. And maybe in this case, I want a HyDraw. So you can directly search for a particular manufacturer and search. And you can open the datasheet if you, and it is opening on the other screen. So this is the component datasheet. And if it is what you want, you just click OK, and all the model data will be passed to the component. Now let's say that connected to my manifold, and now I want to make some room, and maybe the paper is not enough, so I will just change to an A2, and I will move my item here. I want to insert maybe some an additional manifold with the directional control valves. So again, now I want to search, instead of searching by component type, I want to directly search for a component. So I want to search for a DG V%6C search. Sorry, I'm more familiar with Xort. I apologize if there are some Eton guys. For W6J, I will jump to the corresponding Eton Vickers from the Xort. So I do search for W6J, and from the symbol I do show linked models, and I will be able to find maybe the Parker one, or HyDraw, or Eton. DG4V, I'm sorry, I missed the 4. DG4V. Let me take this one. Double click, and I place this valve here. Let's say that I need some more copy, and I paste and take 3 of them. I want to connect my U to my pressure. The connection line can be made manually in this way. So in manual mode, you select the start point and click as far as you want to bend the connection, then you finish on another connection. And to repeat the last command, you press enter and you are able to do the connection again. If you don't like the connection, you can use the stretch connection command. You take a horizontal or vertical segment, in this case the horizontal segment, and I make my connection better. In auto connection mode, so in auto connect, you select just the start point and the end point, and this will make the shortest connection. Sometimes it's easier to use the auto connect because it's less click, but in other situation you may need later to modify the connection where it is ending. And let me stretch and move it down. Let me save my diagram. Webinar. And I want to search for a cylinder. Double acting. Let me take 2 cylinders and copy. And I want to make a connection from As you see, by clicking enter, HyDraw will repeat last command, so it is very, very easy to do all the connection. Let's say that these cylinders are not part of my list of components, so I can select both and uncheck the exclude from part list. This will remove the balloons and item ID from the symbols, so they will not be listed in our part list. You can move symbols just by dragging the insertion point and move it to the left or to the right, and the connection will not break. As you see, I am working with a grid, snap to grid. Hopefully it will be visible in your screen. And I work with snap to grid on. Sometimes I switch it off, and it is handy. You just need to press F9 from the keyboard, and that will sometimes it's easier to select components without the snap to grid. I do another envelope maybe here to create my other manifold. As you can see, when the connection line is ending nowhere, so it is not connected to a port, the envelope will break the connection, will create the external port, and will remove the other segment. So in my case, if I want to connect this port with the reservoir, it's better to add a symbol port. And it is possible. There is a command called symbol port. I want to add a symbol port on this item. HyDraw CAD is asking a name down here. Let me highlight. Down in the command line, it is asking a port name. It's not necessary. You just can say enter to skip it, and you click, and this will be created a red cross that will be able to create a connection from here up to here. Let me clean up the drawing. And let's say that all the ports are 3x8, so we can copy this size with all the other ports. I do slowly. Copy. It is asking this the source symbol. It's my U port. Then it is asking the destination symbol. I keep selecting all the entities. In this case, it will consider only external port, even if I am selecting other entities. Enter for confirmation. HyDraw CAD is asking which attributes you want to copy from the source to the destination symbols, and you click OK. So in this case, it's the easiest way to apply the same size to the ports. The easiest way to change port name is a double click on the port. And you can just say P and edit. The slowest and the old style is a select, go on the top right and say T1. I always do a double click. Sometimes I do it wrong, A1, B1, but this is the fastest way. A2, B2, A3, and B3. Positioning, standard position for port name and size is always on the top right. And as a general rule, we may enhance in the future, but now it's this way. So in this case, I like to have the text on the left for the left port and on the right for the right port. The easiest way here is to use the AutoCAD mirror. That's why it's always on top of my quick access toolbar. AutoCAD mirror, I select the port, enter for confirmation, start and end point, and I click Y, yes, to confirm. And I do again for all the other. Sorry, I do a mirror, yes. Enter to repeat command selection, confirmation, start point, end point, yes. We may want to add some test point directly on these ports. The configuration for test point is made on the options and gauge port. That's our configuration. I need G1/4. Maybe you want SA ports, SA O-ring -4 for the gauge port. So we can create a gauge port on B1, B2, and B3. Enter. down here, we want a close symbol to the right, and this is adding the gauge port. And if texts are overlapping, we can move them, or we can just make some room in the diagram. Let's start making our part list. So to make a part list, the part list is a collection of all the information for the components in the diagram. I'm sorry, I think I lost the connection line here. I see something bad happening. Let me create a connection again. Okay. Part list is the list of components, and it will be representing the collection of all the information for the components in just a table. Of course, the part list is driven by the item ID. And the item ID makes sense because we don't want to have a mess in how the part list is positioned. In such kind of diagrams where we have different, let's call them assemblies, I like to number the items in a way that makes sense to structure the part list. So I go to the System tab, I select this command that is called item. This command is able to renumber items. So I click item, select maybe just the power unit, enter, and I start numbering from 100. Enter, I do the same operation for the second manifold and do 200. And then I do the third operation, 300. There are some other options. This is not now time to go in deeply into all the different options for renumbering, like the assembly ID. This is really the easiest way to get a structured part list with a low effort. Now I want to make a part list. Before doing that, let's look at the configuration. List settings. This is my standard part list, item ID, quantity, description, molecule, manufacturer, and you can have more part list format that you can create easily. We create now a part list. The part list is on a selection of symbols. Enter for confirmation. We can define what we want to include in the part list. Now we have only components, so this option accessories is not relevant. By default, it is always enabled. And we may have system accessories, hoses, and so on. We click next, and we can insert our part list in the drawing. I do a step back, I do again part list, select, enter. Next, it is possible to export the part list into Excel. If you don't need some items, you can exclude them by deleting them. And if you see empty space, you can type in information, and those information will flow into the part list, and we click update. The information will go into the corresponding symbol in the drawing. Together with the part list, I want to build a port list, and in this case, maybe I build a 3 port list, ports on the first manifold. Next, and I position it maybe next to the first manifold, and the same on the second manifold. And the table can be moved where you want by selecting the insertion point. In this diagram, we have some solenoid valves. So now I want to generate an actuation chart. Actuation chart is a table of functions for solenoid valves. Let me complicate a bit the diagram. I want to insert for WE6. Let me search. Let me directly search for the symbol, because I have in mind I need line-mounted symbols, non-stackable symbol, solenoid operated, and G6. Just a single solenoid is fine, end-to-end. Okay, this is good. I want this valve here. So since there is already an unloading system here, I want to be able to unload electrically the low pressure pump. and I will unload by connecting maybe just this port with pressure and go into tank here. And I want to do the same also for the high pressure pump. So at the same time, while yes, in this case, they're normally open, so they are always unloaded. And then if I energize, I will give pressure to the system. So I do also the same. I connect the tank here, and I connect my pressure to the high pressure. So in this case, this valve is doing a dual functions. One function, it is unloading, it is giving pressure to both pump, high pressure and low pressure pump. So this valve has a particular functions which I want to define by clicking solenoid info, touch the valve, and let me call it Y bypass, and that's system pressure. So this valve has a particular function that is allowing the pressure, the system to be pressurized. And I do the same here. Maybe this valve is for the lifting, lift up and lift down. So you energize one and the other, and you get the corresponding function. And maybe this one is for clamp and release. And this other, maybe it's for rotate right and rotate left. So right and left. And you move the functions in the drawing. I go back to the first valve. This one has to be energized to make all the other functions available. So I can link to the other valve, and I may just uncheck them. I don't need the visibility another time in the drawing for that function, and click OK. Now I can make a solenoid actuation chart of my entire diagram. Enter. I want to use the item ID, yes. And I want to insert this in the drawing. And that's my actuation chart. To clamp, I need to energize the bypass coil and also the 301.2 S1. This table, any table, can be exported to Excel. We have some connection lines in the diagram, and let me see how to describe piping, hoses, and so on. So there are some interesting functionalities here. Let me make some room. So according to ISO 1219, there is a hose symbol, hose assembly symbol, which we can find, and we can double click and place the symbol in the drawing, and the symbol will break the connection line. So if you manage hose assembly, this is the easiest way. You just put the symbol, and as you can see, the balloon is different, is a rectangular balloon, and we can get a hose assembly list. But the connection line can be smart, and are actually smart, not only in terms of jumpers, dots automatically made, and the connection staying glued to the symbols, but in this case, the connection can become also directly a pipe. Let's say it's a pipe. I have some data in my library, and let's say that I need material, and I can, as you can see, I have standard XX, XXS, or all the schedule size, and let me take one. You could also type in the flow rate, let's say 50 liters per minute, and HyDraw will jump to the pipe that will match the velocity, and also will check for the pressure. Let's say I need this one, and click OK. So in this case, I have the size displayed for the pipe. instead of a pipe, that line could become a hose directly, hose. And yesterday I started adding some hose attributes. And so here you can see some, that's an Italian brand of hose. And I can select just a hose and click OK. And the information of the hose will be applied to the connection line. In this version of HyDraw CAD, we are not able to extract a list of connections and pipe and tubes, except for the hose assembly list. The version that is coming, the 2021, will be able to get all this information extracted into a table, also with the connection information. So in this case, I will be able to, assuming that the cylinder will have some ports. Let me show a ports called C and R. So those are the 2 ports for a cylinder. The functionality in the 2021 version will be able to describe this line as a 2SN20 and all the information that you will need to have displayed in the list. Also with the definition from to. It will be from A3 of the component 300 to port C of the cylinder, which with that particular item ID. So it will have the possibility to extract much more information from the connections that you make in the diagram. In terms of